Now, if you ask me, they kind of placed this marker in the weirdest place. It's right here on an island in the middle of Horseshoe Bend Road and Springfield Road. Welcome to another episode of History Hunters. I'm here to talk about an old mining camp that was here. It was a town of about 2,000 residents at one time. Sprung up in the 1860s. It's Springfield. I'm excited to show you this place. It was a once booming mining town here in Tuolumne County near Sonora, California, actually closer to Columbia, California. And just about the only thing left here out of a town of about 2,000 is this marker and the building across the street that's in shambles. I'll talk to you about it on this episode of History Hunters. But let's read this plaque. It's the Mark Twain Bret Harte Trail. Springfield received its name from abundant springs gushing from limestone boulders. The town with its stores, shops, and hotel built around this plaza, which I understand that building was the centerpiece of the plaza, once boasted 2,000 inhabitants, believed founded by Donna Josefa Valmaceda, a Mexican woman of means with reputation for aiding Americans in war with Mexico. During its heyday, 150 miner carts could be seen on the road, hauling gold-bearing dirt to Springfield Springs for washing. And that plaque was placed here in 1948. And right across the street is an off-limits building, the only one here left. It's crazy. Now, this armory building is one of the few buildings remaining from the gold rush period. It's a silent vigil against time and vandals. Now, there was a wooden building first built on this site. It was consumed by fire in 1853. By the spring of 1854, this two-story, it was two-story at the time, brick building was built to take its place. There was a first floor. It was temporarily used as a Methodist church, while the upper floor was used for group meetings. And at the outbreak of the Civil War, the Methodists moved to a different location, and the building was used as an armory. Later, school was taught here for a number of years, which may have caused the addition of a wooden kitchen at the front of the building. Nobody knows when the top floor was removed, but can you imagine the history of this place? It sure looks like they're trying to do something here. I don't know, maybe some homeless people did that.
There are no known photographs of Springfield in its infancy. However, I did come across this lithograph featuring a drawing of the camp as it appeared in 1853. If you find the flagpole, you can see the town square with one of the two-story buildings being the last remaining brick structure that I'm about to enter.
Oh, there's a little opening in the back, and I'm going to go up here and take a closer look at it. Check it out. Now the whole backside has been, man, look at this place. This is destroyed. Oh, there's birds up there. I heard something in here and scared me because I thought there was some homeless person in here. Okay, this is freaky. And look at this. Somebody put a piano in here. Holy cow. Sorry about the graffiti on it. Yeah, but look how thick the walls are. I'll show you how thick the walls are. Look at that. Now, they would often use these metal rods here to hold buildings together, hold the outer walls together. And it looks like this one's been completely busted out. It's probably what caused that big hole there. I cannot imagine how much it would cost to fix this place, but I can imagine it'd be a very pricey endeavor. So yeah, this is kind of a sad reminder of a bygone era. Old bricks here that I doubt if they're going to be able to fix this thing without a great amount of cost. Now the Columbia Airport's right over there, so a plane's taking off right overhead. It's really sad that the last remaining building here in Springfield looks like that. It's terrible. But I'm going to go up here to the cemetery. There's a cemetery up the road here, and there's a very interesting person buried there. I'll tell you about it. Just want to highlight the limestone boulders that are around here. Now, when they did a lot of hydraulic mining, way back when it was still legal, they would wash out the soil on top of these rocks, look for gold, and they left a really scarred up landscape like this. Columbia State Historic Park is very similar to this. I can't imagine a town of about 2,000 located in this area right here. This is hard to believe. Nothing's here anymore. As you can see, people don't respect property either. Dumping tires here. Crazy. I parked here at the end of the Columbia Airport because there's a trail here leading right up to the cemetery of Springfield. This is a really old one. In fact, it's so old that there's only about 3 or 4 headstones left. But fortunately, they've put a lot of care into declaring this a historic cemetery. Springfield Cemetery, dedicated by the Golden Era Parlor, Columbia Native Daughters of the Golden West, 1989. Springfield, it goes through the history that I just already went through. This is located on the hill above the town, and it was first used in 1852. Last burial was in 1997. Of the 34 known graves in the cemetery, 9 were children under the age of 6, meaning the graves are unmarked. This other side has a list of those who are buried here. I'm always encouraged by the fact that there's groups like the Native Daughters of the Golden West who will put up markers like this so that we'll know kind of what's going on here. Now, over time, this cemetery has been ravaged, and I'm sure that there were a lot of headstones here. No doubt some of them were stolen, some of them were destroyed, and it's sad that the people who are buried here did get the respect that they deserve to have, even far into the 21st century. I guess we're in the 21st century now. All right, so gotta make our way into the cemetery and show you what we can find. Keep in mind there's an airport nearby, and gonna be noisy, maybe. Let's come to this first grave. John Tregoy, who departed this life June 18th, 1860. He was 31. Look at that. They ran out of space. Dangers stand thick through all the ground to push us to the tomb, and fierce diseases wait around to hurry mortals home. He was a miner here, and very dangerous. Okay, we got a plane. Check it out. That's cool. That's a U.S. Navy plane, biplane, World War I era. It was really smoking off that. Look at that runway over there. It's still smoking from that. So John Tregoy's buried here. I'm probably saying that name wrong. And right here is a grave of 2 little children. There's Mary Elizabeth Vincent and Joseph John Vincent. It looks like John was, gosh, he was 18 months old. He was born in 1857 and died in 1858. And I believe they both died of scarlet fever. Mary Elizabeth Vincent, she was born in 1853 and she died in 1855. She was just 2. She's buried here next to her cousin, Elizabeth Ann, daughter of John and Elizabeth Carpenter. She died in 1855. She was just 2. Her parents were natives of Cornwall, England. There were a lot of miners that came out here to California. William had settled in Wisconsin and was one of the first to cross the Great Plains to engage in gold mining here in California. It was a 4-month trip out here. He commenced working in the mines in 1851. He returned to Wisconsin for his family, reaching California with them in the spring of 1852. in 1860 sent his family to their former home. After these children had died, I'm sure that they had some really bad memories here in California and had to leave. That plane is coming around. It sounds like he cut the engine off. So one of the siblings who made it out of here alive and made it to adulthood was Henrietta Etta Vincent Uzel, who was born here. She moved to Denver, Colorado, and she married a Thomas Uzel, who was dubbed a reverend, the fighting parson of Colorado. Now he got his namesake in Leadville, Colorado, when he staked out a claim not for a mine, but for a church. And a newspaper report that I read stated that the missionary had wailed blazes out of a fellow who attempted to jump his claim. That's pretty bad when a reverend has to wail on somebody. I'm going over to probably the most noteworthy grave here in the cemetery. One of Colonel Stevenson's men. Another plane coming over. Here we go. Forgotten in a pile of weeds, man. Let's get close to this one. Joseph B. Logan, formerly of Philadelphia, departed this life October 7th, 1857. He was 31. He was a member of the 1st Regiment of the New York Volunteers, erected by his friends. He was one of Stevenson's regiment. And why was a regiment of New York Volunteers in California? Well, it's simple. Stevenson's regiment, under the command of Colonel Jonathan Stevenson, was the 1st New York Volunteer Regiment to go to the Mexican War. Early in the war, President Polk and Secretary of War William Marcy, formerly the governor of New York, devised a plan to send the regiment to California to help colonize the region after the war. They authorized Colonel Stevenson, a New York State militia officer and former state senator, to recruit a regiment of unmarried, skilled artisans who would remain in California after the war. Drawn from New York City and Albany, Steuben and Chenango counties, the regiment consisted of, quote, strong, able-bodied mechanics, generally in the prime of life, that contains within itself the elements of prosperity, wealth, and greatness. The regiment was sent to California by sea in 1846 and 7. Its mission was to occupy California, and after being mustered out, California ended up in the United States' hands. After the war, they remained in California, participating in the gold rush, settling new communities, and practicing their trades. You may remember the video that we did on Volcano up in Amador County. It's also in the Sierra Motherlode. Colonel Stevenson himself stayed in that town. So it's not uncommon that his men scattered throughout the gold fields of California back in the 1850s and 60s. Stevenson got involved in local politics and mining in Southern California before heading to San Francisco, where he had a populous career in real estate. He died in San Francisco in 1894. He was originally buried in San Francisco's Laurel Hill Cemetery. And then, of course, they dismantled that cemetery and they took the remains to Cypress in Colma, I believe, is where he is today. But the story of them moving the bodies out of San Francisco cemeteries is fraught with some scary information. There was no government supervision of the removal of the bodies and the transportation of them and how they were buried in other cemeteries. I don't mean to get gross, but the bodies turned into a wax-like state. According to the article that I read, some gentleman had a body on the side of the road and somebody came up on him and saw he was messing with this body, asked what he was doing, and the individual said that he was making soap. He's going to make soap out of the body. I mean, is that gross or what? You wouldn't have that go on today, would you? I hope. All throughout the cemetery you see these limestone, and look, somebody drilled a hole in that one. And then there's brick. I'm quite sure that there are so many graves here that we're never going to know about unless you used ground penetrating radar. Absolutely no other graves here. And we know that they're buried all over the place. Again, I'm so sorry that there's nothing else to show you here, but it's been decimated. History's been decimated here. And that's very sad. This was kind of a sad visit. I hate seeing things destroyed and cemeteries forgotten about and decimated over time. Think about the loved ones of the people who buried these people with great care, and now they're just, it's in shambles. I do want to ask you to leave a comment if you could. If you could also give us a thumbs up, that would be appreciated. YouTube likes to push videos that are being watched, and one of the algorithm factors is how many times people are watching it, how long they're watching it, how they're commenting, if they're giving it a thumbs up, and if people are subscribing. So you could help us do that. You could just leave a comment. You could subscribe if you haven't done so already. And if you could give us a thumbs up, that helps as well. Thank you so much for joining us on this adventure back in history. Where's that plane at?